Joe Mentum. I just like adding momentum or mentum to various words. But in this case, Joe Mentum or Bo Mentum. But Joe Mentum. Let's go Joe Mentum. Whatever mentum it has finally started to wane. Joe Biden's polling numbers has started to slump. Sanders increase. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Soapbox. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. I am your host. And yes, let's get into the polling. Now, I have to be honest. I hesitated to do this particular episode. I even had another episode queued up. But my thought was, why not? It's one of those things that you look at. It starts getting a little bit more accurate the closer you get to the election. So, as something to talk about, let's talk about it. Polling. So, CNN comes out with this poll, I think it was like last month. And on the left, we looked at this poll and it was like, that's not, BS. And we call it BS on the polling because of the way they were weighing the youth vote. It's like they gave it a numerical value, or they gave it a value as opposed to a called number, if that makes sense. Whatever. We didn't necessarily like the way they added in the youth vote to their polling methodology. But like I said, I don't put a huge amount of stock in polling this far out to begin with. But let's talk about this one. Because this one is showing somewhat of a trend. And it's a trend that I think I predicted going all the way back, saying that Joe Biden is going to wane. That as we get closer and closer to the election, he's going to tailspin. He's going to hit the ditch. My thinking for that is because the moment that Joe Biden has to start explaining himself on the various things that has taken place over his last 40 years, he's not going to like doing that. And the public is going to recoil in horror at it. So let's take a look at the poll, though. So this one has, let's see if I can make this a little bit larger. Okay, that's as big as it gets. But I'll just read it. 32% for Vice President Joe Biden, 18% for one Mr. Bernie Sanders, or Senator Bernie Sanders. Now, back in April, this number was 39% for Joe Biden and 15% for Sanders. Sanders has moved up 3. Biden has dropped, 6? Yeah, 7. Biden has dropped 7, giving you a 10-point change in regards to numerical advantage. My point is, Biden has started to wane, and I strongly suspect this is only going to get worse. I could be wrong. Mark my words. You can hold me accountable if I get it wrong. I mean, mind you, we're just guessing at this point to some degree. It's like an educated guess. But Biden is going to have to answer for like 40 years in politics. That is going to be horrendous. And he's going to have to answer that way to a lefty primary voter. Like, this is not every American voting. This is very specifically Democratic primary voters that have decidedly moved to the left. Now, they may like Biden just because of his name and the name recognition. But that name recognition is going to have to deal with a reality, that reality being this country has moved away from the 90s style politician. I could be wrong. And like I say, polls this far out, but I do think once you start seeing a distribution going in a particular direction, I do think they start to matter. But we'll see. I just thought this was an interesting poll. Biden, tail spinning. There's another interesting poll from Merlin. I closed it. Not from Merlin, from Michigan. And they were having this conversation about Biden and Sanders. And both of these guys were beating Trump by a relatively comfortable margin. Some of the other Democrats, not so much. But when you start getting into the people, when the voter themselves, and you ask them why, they found that there was this odd similarity that disrupted Trump's voter, dealing with Sanders. Like, there was an element of Sanders that the Trump voter, especially from the standpoint of men, liked. So the voter that Democrats have been in search of was right there standing with one Mr. Bernie Sanders. It was a fascinating poll read. I should have pulled it down. But I'll leave this here. Distribution between the two, 10 points. Sanders moving up 3, Biden moving down 7. Oh, that hurts, that burns. And I'll leave it here. I'll see you guys in like 5 minutes. I already have another story queued up. Thanks all. And this...